Hello, I'm Cameron.
Hi, I'm Cindy.
Welcome to Homeschool Roots. So today we're going to talk about something I'm sure that you've thought about, whether or not to homeschool, is how to make sure that your child has an equal shot of going to college. And I think that's something that that needs to be covered. And I will just right off the bat tell you that I know plenty of homeschool kids that did not have a problem getting into very good colleges, and it's not a hindrance that you may think it is.
I think that's true. I was trying to think in my own experience if I knew students that had been homeschooled that did not have the opportunity to go to college because of academic deficiencies. And I don't know of any. Most of them have gone to the college of their choice and their first choice. And so, yes, education, that's what school is all about. You want your child to be educated and prepared for whatever their next step is, and whether that is to enter the workforce or job training of some kind of program, or if they want to go to university level
Exactly.
teaching.
So assuming that you do want your child to go to university, that's what this video we're going to talk about. So the number one thing is you've got to keep transcripts, and keep good transcripts. There are templates that you can actually just download off the internet to make sure that you're tracking, and you need to research what are the requirements for your state. Every state is different. California is going to have this standard, while Oklahoma is going to have this standard, and that's yet another thing that you're going to need to make sure that you're staying on top of, so you can make sure that your child even meets the requirements to apply at state university or the universities that they want.
Yes. You need to be aware of what your state requires, and the sooner the better. You can always update it once a year as you're preparing for the next year of homeschool. Just take another look at your Department of Education from your state to make sure those requirements are the same. Once your child is in high school, most of those states will grandfather the students in, because they realize if your child is a senior and they change the requirements for graduation, that is really unfair to families in whatever school setting they're in, whether it's homeschool, public school, private school, or whatever. But you do need to keep up with it on how many years of math, English, science, history are required, how many credits are needed to graduate, because it's not just those main 4 areas. They have to have a certain number of credits. There are some required courses. Most of them at some point require a health component, art appreciation. There are going to be things that you think of that are more obvious, but there may be requirements that you wouldn't think of. And so you want to, no surprises, because it's difficult if a child comes up there last year and doesn't have enough math and has to take 2 math classes their senior year of high school. And so you just want to be aware of that. Also, you should know that if you are homeschooling, many homeschool curriculums also have the option of them keeping a transcript for your child. And if you use their full program, or if they have an online school component, then you can also have them keep an official transcript, and some of them even offer a diploma from their school. And that can be a benefit, especially for the homeschool parent that doesn't really feel like that record keeping, the details are their strength. You don't want to come up your senior year and have to try to compose your transcript at that point, and go back and think, what English did they take when they were a freshman? Was there a literature component to it? Was it grammar? Was it writing? It's very difficult to go back and recreate that. So you want to keep those, records for high school.
Which brings up a good point.
All along.
When you're homeschooling, you're not just the teacher, you become the teacher and the administrator.
That's right.
And so that's something to consider whether or not this is for you. I hope I'm not trying to scare anybody away from it, but I just want people to make sure that you have as much information as possible. But a good way is you can kind of farm out the administrative part by having a good curriculum. And this is something actually Cindy and I just talked about before the video, is especially for new homeschoolers, we recommend against doing hodgepodge, picking something from here, picking something from there, because that's something kind of common that new homeschoolers will do because their child doesn't want to do a certain part. But when you kind of just have a comprehensive curriculum, it makes things so much easier for you administratively, but also you're teaching your child that they can't just quit because it got a little hard.
Right. And educationally, those curriculums are integrated with one another, and your child will get a better education because their literature went along with the science of the year, or the writing assignments were geared towards their history, or in many ways the curriculums are integrated, and that can be a great strength. Now, if you homeschool for a number of years, at some point you will find that you really like a certain curriculum's program in a certain area. And there's nothing wrong with having a piecemeal approach, but it is for beginners. For beginners, you are causing yourself a lot of headaches to have to do the research and to see if there are ways to integrate those subjects together, especially if you have children that are of different grade levels. Many homeschooling curriculums take that into account and will give you ideas of how you do a history for a first grader and a fifth grader. And they'll give you a plan for doing activities that keep the fifth grader engaged and challenged, but age appropriate activities for the same information for a first grader. And that is just gold for you as a parent, because yes, you might be able to come up with those connections yourself, but it's very time consuming. And how much easier is it, especially as a new homeschooler, if a lot of that is already done for you?
It depends on your strengths, because I know for me, as a teacher, one of the promotional ladder would be teacher lead, then principal, or vice principal, then principal. And I've always realized I didn't want to be a principal because I don't like the administrative stuff. I want to be in the classroom and teaching. Like, that's what I want to do. I feel like that's what God made me here to do, is to teach kids. So if I'm having to deal with the politics and all the other stuff that comes along with the administrative work, then it just takes the fun out of it. Now, some people, they love doing the administrative. So it just depends on your strengths.
Yes.
For me, definitely, I want a curriculum. I will gladly pay a fee. They take care of everything, all that for me, so I can spend the time with my kids. But some people, like Cindy was saying, that's part of the fun of it. So it just really depends on your personality.
Yes, and going back to what Cameron said a few minutes ago about don't be discouraged that you are now not only a teacher but an administrator and a guidance counselor. You've got this. As a parent, you are already used to wearing many hats of counselor and taxi driver and doctor, teacher, advisor, policeman, judge, jury, and executioner sometimes. You're already used to wearing many hats, and you can do this if it's a desire of your heart and what you feel like is best for your family.
Exactly. So I wasn't saying that to discourage. I hope it didn't come off that way, but I just want people to understand just everything that they're in for it. And I guess I'm very triggered by when I see people just parking their kid in front of a computer, and it's like, that's not homeschooling.
It's not homeschooling. That is, you're missing the best of everything in that scenario, the best of the joy and the best of the reward as well.
Exactly. So another thing that I think is really important that about getting into college is, so we're making sure that we're picking a good curriculum, we're making sure that we're keeping transcripts, and we're also making sure that that's what your child wants to do, because not every child is suited for college. I got to tell you, there used to be this stigma for people that didn't go to college. I have a friend, he does fences, and because everyone wanted their kid to go to school, he went to trade school and learned how to be a carpenter. He makes $70,000 a year building fences. So I would strongly encourage you to make sure that this is the path that your child wants to go. Again, you are the parent, but at the same time, I have seen kids like they are very good with their hands, and that's what they want to do, and they hated every minute of being in trigonometry and everything. Now, of course, you want to give them that foundation, but just make sure that you don't want to just be, I want my kid to go to Harvard. I want to get my kid to go to Harvard. And some homeschoolers, they get like this, like, oh, I'm a failure if my kid doesn't get into Harvard. Let me just tell you, as an employer, okay, where they went to college matters for the first job or maybe the second job. After that, no one cares where they went. It's your references, your skills. So just don't be so focused on just, oh, I'm a failure if I don't get my kid into Harvard.
Right. Well, and that's one of the beauties of homeschooling. I knew a family whose oldest son was interested in a medical career, and as a high schooler, he had accelerated his own program of study to where he was able to actually become certified as an emergency medical technician and work on an ambulance service as a high schooler. And he had that opportunity because he was homeschooled. And he did go on and go to medical school later and, follow that dream. Another one of their children was very interested in filmmaking. And again, one of the strengths of homeschooling is to allow children to follow a passion. They're still getting educated in all the normal things and, reading and writing and arithmetic. But there is more flexibility for you to find opportunities for them to pursue their passion, whether it's animal care and them, spending time volunteering at the local veterinary clinic or, whatever their passion is. Homeschooling sometimes will allow you more flexibility in getting training, in identifying experts in that field that they can shadow and see what it's really like to be in that profession. There are so many opportunities to inspire your child and for them to catch hold of a dream of something they think they might be interested in, but then they have the opportunity to study that or to volunteer in that area or to explore it in some way, and you ignite a lifelong passion for them.
Now, and assuming for this video, we're assuming that the audience, they do want their kid to go to university. Nothing wrong with that. So bringing it back to that, universities realize that homeschool kids actually do a little bit better than their peers that went to traditional schools. Another option is they can go to community college first. Now, I'm a big fan of community college first, just for the money savings issue. I went to community college for 2.5 years, then I went to the University of California and graduated with a degree from political science from the University of California, Santa Barbara. And I only had like $15,000, $20,000 in debt, whereas like my friends had like $40,000, $50,000 in student loan debt. So if you are just not confident, and you can do the community college route as well, or you just want to save money, or if you do want them to go directly to university, homeschooling, please do not think of homeschooling as a hindrance to that.
Yes, I think it is my experience now, having had 3 daughters, to apply successfully and be admitted into universities, and one into community college. That was her choice. But knowing that, our experience is that colleges and universities look at more than just a grade point average. And
Great inflation is real.
Yes, it is. And also, just because a child, even if it's not inflated, a straight A student may not be social, have social skills, may not be a well-rounded student to enter a particular program of study. I think that colleges also look at things like the activities that a student has been involved in during their high school career, and not just not just sports and music. Those are important, and you can make sure your homeschooler has opportunities for those. But many homeschoolers have opportunities for short-term mission trips and for work projects where they're actually in the community doing something to make it better.
And not just for the credit.
Right. They're more well-rounded individuals. Homeschoolers are generally better self-starters because their motivation cannot come with that they had to be at school at 7:30 in the morning, like all the other students, and to begin class. Their internal motivation became a much greater factor, and that is a ability that's like gold, because we're always, through our whole lives, there's going to be things we don't want to do. Some mornings we're going to wake up and we don't want to go to work, or no matter how great a profession, how much we love it. And we have to be self-starters. We have to be disciplined from within, not just from the outside of somebody making us do things. And, colleges know that, and they want to talk to students about their view of the world. And are they just so inwardly focused of, I just want to go to college, I want to study this, or if they have a view for their place in the world and what they want to accomplish. And, so the transcript is important, that you need to keep it. The more detailed it is, the better, as far as I'm concerned, for homeschooling. Public schools may be able to give a transcript that just names the course and the grade, and people accept it. For homeschoolers, it's much better for you to name the course and the grade and the publisher of the curriculum that you used. If you want to provide even, as much detailed information, that it was a semester-long course or a year-long course, and if it's in English, that it had components for grammar, writing, and literature. The more details you give, the more well-rounded of a picture that you're providing to the college that you're applying to.
And I just want to say, even for the public school, so for example, when I went to community college, they had me do an exam for the math, and they stopped accepting high school math transcripts because there were so many students that had acceptable grades in high school, but they couldn't do algebra.
Yeah.
So they actually required all of their students who, even if they had taken the course, to take this entrance exam just for that reason. We talked about grade inflation, especially in some of these states. Like, they just want to, it's like a factory, just get them out, which is one of the reasons why I think homeschooling is a great option. And again, I just really want to emphasize the importance of, I was reading a study by Chris Hogan's book, and from one of Dave Ramsey's proteges, and it was really interesting. I think they said just 5% of America's millionaires went to a prestigious school. Mm-hmm. Most of America's wealthy people went to state schools, and they saved a lot of money doing it. And this idea that these high-end schools that are trying to sell you a degree in these expensive programs, the data just does not bear that out. That the kids that come out of these schools really do better in life than kids that went to state schools.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's, I think at the bottom line of what we're saying is that, your student can succeed. Your student can go to the college of their choice or the program that they want to go to. You need to be on top of it with record keeping, and also making sure that you are fulfilling those requirements, both in content for the classes that they have to have, but also in the number of credit hours. Because it's terrible if you've had all of the required courses, but you're still, you know, 8 credits short of what you need for graduation in your final year. You're going to have to really come up with some heavy-duty coursework that year. And all of that is avoidable if you just stay on top of it.
And I think the thing we're trying to emphasize is the fears of their child not being able to get into a good school or university because of homeschooling are just simply unfounded.
Yeah.
You know, she's had 5 daughters. I've worked with children for years, and they all managed to get into very good schools as well, not just public schools.
Right.
So I think that's it for this video. I want to say, so thank you very much. Make sure you like the video, subscribe. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, I'm Cameron.
I'm Cindy.
And this is Homeschool.
Start to say welcome. Are we going to say welcome?